Hi traders and welcome to the Technical Analysis Market Watch on Friday the 23rd of June. So I've certainly seen some pretty big action this week. We've seen some really big moves on the currencies and some of the indices. So we'll jump straight into the charts and see if we can identify any trades for today or early into next week. All right, we'll start out here with the Aussie USD, and you can see we've seen a big decline since the 68.80 area that we were talking about last week. We saw the resistance there and it just continued on. As you can see, we've had a very, very big week of selling, and now it's finding itself at a place where it really will find probably some support in the middle of this channel here. You can see that we have got some definite support here at around the 67 sort of 20 area. It is trying to break that at the moment, but we are in the middle of an Asian session, or towards the end of the Asian session now. So really where this candle ends up for the end of the week is probably going to be more important in what it's actually looking like now. If we're looking at a candle close, a daily close that'll be above this level at around that 67.20 on Monday morning, then we're looking at probably finding that support that we need to get it back up to around that 67.80, which is probably the next level that you would find a little bit more resistance on the way up. But of course, if it does continue to sell and we see it close down below the 67 cent mark altogether, that's going to be a weekly and a daily, of course. When it does close there, then it really does open itself up for some more selling. Look, the next probable level of actual support is going to be around that 65.80. Now, it is going down in nice increments of the 60, 80, and also the double zeros. So realistically, it's pretty easy to pinpoint the targets of where this is going when it does eventually get moving. But what we're looking for here is the close, really. So what we want is a close below 67. And if that happens there on Monday, then we're looking at weakness for the week, and then we're going to be looking at an intermediate level of about 66.50, and failing that, the 65.80 will be the next serious zone of support. But there will be a little bit of support potential at around that 66.50 as well, because you can see all of these lows throughout this here, through this rectangle here, are potential obstacles for it. So we'll pop a line there, we'll pop it there, and we'll see where it ends up. But if we do get that close below these moving averages, that will be the first target on early in the week next week. But of course, if it does pull up and closes above the 67.20 by the end of the week, and Monday morning, that's where we start, we can look for a bit of a retrace back up to around that 67.80 level. So pretty good trading on the Aussie. All right, move over to the US dollar CAD now, and obviously this worked out perfectly last week. Tested the 132.60 area, which is that roll reversal zone, and then sold straight off it. So yeah, pretty good trading there. Hopefully you're able to catch hold of that. It's trying to rally, it's doing its best, but it's still looking a little bit weak for mine. I wouldn't be really getting too carried away with what it's doing at the moment. The MACD signal line is still well and truly inside the histogram. So for mine, we're probably still looking at a little bit more weakness. If we do get a little bit more of a change of trend on a 15-minute or a 1-hour time frame, and you're looking for a scalping opportunity, then perhaps up to around that 32.60 area again, which is the last point of touch, would be the zone. A 20-moving average will catch up to that in a few days, I would expect. So as long as it doesn't get there too quickly, you could find more resistance at that point. But it's broken a very key level of resistance here now, so it's hard to really get excited about a long opportunity. But obviously the short is down to that 130 sort of 60 to 70 area. Not a bad place to aim for, but look for a bit of a pullback, maybe back up to that 132 with a 20-moving average resistance. That could be our target there. If it does that, then potentially we can look for shorting opportunities again. I wouldn't be looking at long on this one until it actually gets above the 132.60 and above the 20-moving average. So it wouldn't even want to get there too quickly for me. It needs to get above that 20-moving average before I'd consider looking at long opportunities, because this is well and truly broken this zone, and I think the targets are still relatively low for it. So really just sort of scalping the middle zones, look for opportunities up to around that 132.60 on the way up. All right, over to the US dollar yen. This has been the star of the show. This one has continued on with its strength. We had a little bit of a pullback, only a very, very minor one last week. And as you can see, we've had a very, very big, strong week from there. 3 very positive candles in a row. And it's looking at trading above the 143 again, really. Look, it's trying very, very hard. It's one of those ones where, yeah, it's come back and tested a zone. Not really a pullback that I would have been, totally thrilled about. Yeah, it didn't really give us enough depth. So it was going to be one of those ones where sort of take it with a grain of salt. But it certainly has pushed on now and is looking very strong. Look, you can take it right out and you can see that we have got resistance for it at around that 144.80 to 145. That is the next real point of solid resistance for it, because you can see that it was resistance right through this level here, and it was obviously support for a little bit of this period here as well. So that's a likely target for it if it does continue to move up. If you were able to get that pullback, you did well. You have to be pretty quick and smart on it, but if you did it, well done. Look, it's still got probably potentially, another 150 pips if it continues with the momentum. And the dollar is starting to strengthen a little bit. We'll look at that in a second. But if we do get a continued move, I would look for a pullback on a smaller time frame and to continue on with that momentum. I wouldn't be looking for any shorts on this one at this stage. The momentum is far too strong on the way up for it. So no real shorting opportunities here. But if you are long, this is the target. And if you do get a little bit of a mini pullback, even if it pulls back to that sort of 142 area, and we get a little bit of a roll reversal zone on a smaller time frame, all the 20-minute catches at 20 moving average catches up, then we can look at long opportunities again up to the 145. So good trading on the yen. Hopefully you're able to catch that move, but you did need to be fairly quick on it because it took off fairly quickly. All right, over to the dollar index now. And as we can see, we've seen that little bit of resistance starting to form at the 20 and the 50 moving average. They're basically crossing over each other. So we would expect that we're probably going to find a bit of resistance there. If we start trading above those moving averages, the problem for this one, of course, is it's got resistance right at 103.50 as well. So even if it breaks the moving averages, it has got problems in front of it. That said, a lot of big moves are happening on the world indices at the moment, and gold and everything else. So realistically, it wouldn't be a surprise to see the dollar index shoot up and break these levels. But it's hard to trade that, right? You want to see, we want certainty, or a bit more certainty of what we're seeing. So ideally, in a perfect world, we'll see a break of this level before we start taking this seriously. If it's going to be a sustained move, it's going to get past there anyway, so it's not really going to matter. We're going to certainly capture this part of the move if it does break through here, and then we've got momentum on our side, which is, of course, is really important. If it fails at this point here and fails to break through the moving averages and rolls over again, the obvious target is going to be to the 102 flat, and a break of that is going to bring it down to the 101 sort of 30 area. So not bad trading on the dollar index, but of course the euro is the one we would be trading. It did what it needed to do. It got up to that level of 110, which we know was resistance. That was a target for any long scalps from last week. It sold off a little bit there. Not a great deal. It's about 70 points, but if you're scalping it, it's still a reasonable amount. So if you're able to capture that, that's great. It's looking obviously at resistance. The dollar index is looking a little bit strong, but we know that there is problems for the dollar index right in front of it, just as there is in front of the euro as well. So this little short-term sell-off might only be very short-lived. Wouldn't surprise me at all. So just be really mindful of that it has been very strong to get there. It bounced off this level very, very strongly, and went straight to the level where we would have taken profits, or hopefully you did anyway, because that's where you would have taken it. If we see sustained weakness and we see a break of that 109 level, then we could look at shorting it down to the 108 probably is the first target, which is a 20 moving average. But a break of that 108 would see it probably start to test these levels again at around the 107.20 to 107.50. I think the euro produces some pretty good opportunities to trade when it does actually start trading technically, and it's in that zone now where it is moving enough to get good trades in. But the resistance and support are holding up very, very well. So just play the those zones. I'm not looking for anything big and long term on this one. Just look for the zones and trade long and short into the resistance and support, and just use the smaller time frames to be your guide for the lightning bolts. And of course, the US 500. It's been weak. Obviously, this week has been a bit of a sell-off, all the way from that sort of 40, the highs that we saw last week of sort of 45, nearly 44.50, close enough to, but it started to sell off, and no real surprises to see this pullback. It's not even that ugly. Look, the Aussie market's a lot uglier than this. So really, yes, we've seen weakness, but not to the extent that we've seen in other indices. So, and you've got to respect that strength. I think that if the 20 moving average holds up, I think what we're really looking for here is where the weekly is going to close. If we see a weekly close, or if a daily closes below this 20 moving average, so if we're getting a close tonight lower than the 43.20 or lower than the 20 moving average, I would be looking at potential shorting opportunities straight away next week. That's what I'd be targeting, because a very weak end to this week is going to signal a pretty ordinary week next week in terms of where the price is at, because it's at a level now where it really needs to hold up and turn around, or that weakness and it could certainly kick in. So for mine, If we get a close below the 20 moving average on a daily, I'd be starting to target that sort of 42 sort of 50 to 70 area, this area here, early next week. But of course, if it holds up above the 20 moving average and it's holding up above 43.30 for the week on the daily chart, then I would be looking in the first instance at longs up to the 44.20 early next week. So you'll see that momentum kick in, but I wouldn't be trading it until you see a series of higher highs and higher lows on a smaller time frame to confirm it. So pretty simple, a break below the 20 moving average, and we're looking for shorting opportunities down to the mid 42s and a close above the 20 moving average this week, and then we'd be starting to target the 44.30 to 44.50 level early in the trading week. So I hope you're able to catch some of the moves that we saw in the last few days. They've been pretty good and they've been fairly sustained on some of the big ones, so hopefully you were able to take advantage of those. Have a fantastic weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.